Hello and welcome to Season 5, Episode 7 of the Sajin Photography Podcast. And this is the New Year's Day 2024 edition, and I thank you very much for staying with me for yet another year, and we've made it into the year 2024. And if I haven't said it before, I just wish you guys all the best in this coming year, and I hope that you had a great holiday season. So let's get into it. I don't really have much of a plan for this episode, but I do want to thank you all for the support over the past year. It's been a heck of a year, actually a really good one, contrary to, what I was going on about last episode. But overall, when I look back at the year, it's been an amazing year and one that I really am grateful for, because a lot of the stuff that I did last year had something to do with photography. And I think that's sort of important as a photographer to do stuff that's related to photography. But what I'm really grateful for is the fact that I was able to teach photography to students over the past year. And I think that was something that I've mentioned on a number of occasions that really rekindled my love affair with photography. And I think we all go through these episodes where, you pick up a camera and you love it for years and years. And then you get through that plateau where you don't really get to the exciting locations, or you don't get the photos that everybody else is getting, or there's some new technique or editing style that comes out that you just don't get, but you feel sort of left behind. And I think for myself, what I realized was when I started teaching that there is a lot of information that you can pass on to people, but there's also, you realize that, in some cases that you are, or I am, okay at photography, and that little gremlin in the corner, that self-critic, gets put onto a shelf as you're trying to dispense knowledge. And I think this is coming from sort of an area of, it's not a scarcity mindset, but an abundance mindset. And I know that sounds sort of wishy-washy, but when you look at it like this, as I mentioned before about building communities and whatnot, a lot of people have a scarcity mindset where they're, very protective of their locations and styles and when they go out and whatever. But when you become a teacher, you put all that stuff aside and you actually end up teaching the craft. And what I really like about this is that you sort of are put into a position where you can't be protective about anything. You have to show your students what they can do. And through that, you re-engage photography from a different angle. And I think that really, over the past year, woke up some long dormant senses that I had and that passion for photography. Now, throughout the year, I've had, some ups and downs with creative bursts and sort of long plateaus. And you can kind of tell through the dips and long breaks in between episodes of, sometimes you just get busy, you have work and stuff that you have to do. So you can't always be walking around with a camera shooting stuff, especially the places where I teach. I don't even think I can have a camera in my car in some cases. So, there are some ups and downs, but I finished off the year strong. I got out to Gompo, one of my favorite places, a little while ago. And, this morning I woke up and I was, half thinking about braving the crowds for a sunrise shoot. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically here in Korea, everybody gets up to see the first sunrise of the year. And this year in Ulsan, it was non-existent. So kind of took some time. I slept in, I had some coffee, and I just chilled out today. So it was really a nice way to enter 2024. Now, if you listen to this podcast over the past couple of years, you'll know that basically I always make the same claim. I'm going to get out and do more episodes on a weekly basis like I did in my first season. I'm not going to make that promise. I'm going to try and say that what I'm looking at doing is just kind of focusing on consistency and routine. That's something that I'm even actually trying to do with my regular photography, is just sort of build going out and getting photos into a routine. And the trouble with that, I think a lot of times you run the risk of sort of repeating yourself, or, picking the lowest hanging fruit, I guess you could say. And what I mean by that is with the kind of photography that I do, like sometimes it could be just going out to the same locations. Oh, I'm going out to Gompo again to photograph the same lighthouse from the same spot. However, I think that building that consistency also means like you're gonna I am going to challenge myself to find different locations or approach these same locations from a different angle. And I'm hoping that I can sort of do that. Some other ideas I've been kicking around this past year have been to do more video stuff. And I've been even kind of toying with the idea of buying a 360 camera to do some sort of like behind the scenes location stuff. And as I sort of hammer out the details, I think I'm gonna, toy around with that concept, tool it a little bit, and see if I can like revamp my dying YouTube account, or at least just dump it all onto TikTok, because I think that's where everybody else is going. We'll see what happens, and then other than that, I think I'm just going to see where these lessons sort of take me, and we'll go from there. But I do like the teaching aspect, and I seemingly had a decent good response from the teaching, so I'm hoping to build on that with another project in this new year. So with all that, I think it was basically, looking back, it was 2023 was a great year, especially when I look at it compared to the previous couple of years. And I think that every year, basically, I read the same book, which is called Your Best Year Ever by, I think, Michael Hyatt is the guy's name. And basically, one of the things that he talks about is doing like a after action review. And what that is that you do sort of this. And I know all photographers do this sort of like, oh, the year's best. And I feel that's sort of, pardon the expression, and you can mute this right now, but I feel like they're just jerking off into your ear. And by that, I mean that anyone that sort of like shows off like how many clients they've got or their best photos of the year. Yeah, that's great. And I probably will do that on my blog if I ever get around to updating it. But for me, I think it's a little bit of a, it's like patting yourself on the back, in regards to photography, because it's like, it's a business thing. And what I mean by that is anyone who doesn't knows that they're just showing their clients how awesome of a year. So if there's a client on the fence about, whether or not they should hire you for the next year, you can show them that post, or they can read that post if they stumble across it and see, oh, this guy worked for, Joe's Car Wash or something like that. So anyway, this after action review is basically where you look back at something and, figure out how you wanted the year to go, let's say, then how it actually went and what you can learn from it. It's basically that easy. And a lot of people don't do this, especially, as us as artists, we just sort of push past. And I think like when I look back, there's, a couple of learning points. I think I got to do an attitude adjustment, but overall, it's been a great year. Now, looking ahead to 2024, I think that it's going to be the best year ever, to quote that book. And it all is basically boiling down to just my ability to improve, to study, and to basically get in that routine again. Because I think a lot of times we as photographers or just even expats here in Korea, there's no sense of pushing. You want everything. You want the people to come to you. You want the good jobs, or you want to go out and get the great pictures. But if you're not ready to really leave your comfort zone, it's not really going to happen. Like if you're not, and this is like, and I'll talk about myself here. Like I'm no, golden boy on this one. I need to update my sites. I need to get on to more platforms. I need to update that regularly. I think that was the biggest thing that I sort of dropped the ball on. There's the gaps with the podcast and blogs, but also my portfolio. I'm going to go through all of that. And I think that's a common sort of thing with a lot of photographers I talk to, where some people, they want the good stuff. They want everything, and they wonder why they can't get it, and they blame other people. But the people who are actually doing it are the ones who are, I guess, making those year-end blogs. They're updating their portfolios regularly. They're on Instagram and TikTok and everywhere. So when somebody types in, say, Busan photographer, it will be their name, not yours. And I think that that's sort of, if that's what you're going for, then you have to go out there and do it with some sort of ferocity, some sort of sense of motivation. And if you think about a little while ago, I was talking about that show, The Bear, and then there's that episode where in season 2 where I think it's like every second counts. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is that if you want that attention, if you want that stuff, then every second counts. And when I look at where I'm going with this, I'm not that hungry to make a name for myself, but despite popular belief about loving the spotlight, I think for myself, I just want some sort of consistency. And again, after tasting a year of doing the classes, I think that's where I'm happy with. And, going out and taking some photos here and there, I'm perfectly happy with that. And so I think as we get to the tail end of this podcast, I just want to wish you guys all a very, very happy New Year. It's New Year's Day here in Korea. It's kind of later on at night. So if it's New Year's Day or New Year's morning, wherever you are, I wish you all the best. And I hope that 2024 sends you a multitude of health, wealth, and happiness. And get out there and go shoot and make this the best year ever.